Mora Companion Heavy Duty, one in the line of 1/8 inch thick Mora knives. You know, we've been asking for this knife forever. So the knife we chose for today is, like I said, the Mora Companion Heavy Duty. And of course you can see how thick that blade is, a lot thicker. And I've been playing around with this so far. The blade geometry is still pretty good. It's still a razor, like most Moras are. So even though we're losing a little bit of mechanical advantage there, the overall length is going to be 8 7/8 inch. So decent sized knife, and I've got pretty decent sized hands, so you're able to grip it in different positions very comfortably. Plenty of handle to do what you need to do with it. You guys can see that right now. Of course, this isn't a full tang knife, it's a rat tail tang, but I think the 1/8 inch thick piece of steel, for you Mora guys out there who have ever had some damage happen to your Mora, it's probably going to add a lot to the sturdiness. You know, keep in mind this is probably almost twice the thickness of other Moras. Cutting length though is only about 4 inches. The blade thickness, of course, like I said before, 1/8 or 0.126 inches. Now it's a lighter blade, but a lot heavier than a lot of Moras that you're used to. So this is going to come in at a whopping 3.6 ounces. That was a joke, guys. Of course, made of high carbon steel. MSRP is about $34, but on the internet you'll probably find it for about 20 bucks. That's pretty common for the knife world. So now the one thing that I was kind of worried about this is that if the blade geometry was going to be that different from other Moras because of the thickness. Because a scandi grind, it's very important, the ratio of the thickness of the knife versus the height of the scandi grind. We don't want to get too high because then we'll weaken the blade, but of course if it's too short, that angle is not conducive for good cutting geometry. Let me grab a piece of wood real quick and we'll show you guys how this thing works. Kind of our dry wood test here first. We're just going to use a simple chest lever type technique. But I just want to see how fine I can get these shavings. So I can tell you guys right now, the blade geometry feels good. You guys can see me gliding through this. Now this by no means is as much as a lightsaber as some of the other Moras. I'm just trying to go for very thin slices. You pass that camion layer, get into some heart of that wood. So as you guys can see, this thing's going to be a rock star when it comes to doing fuzz sticks or anything else. I mean, look at that. No issue at all. Okay, so what if we want to take out some bitier chunks of wood? Nice. Now instead of a straight draw, I was drawing in, pulling back, so I was getting the whole slice cut. Try that on a little thicker piece. Pretty good. Nice clean cuts though. It's pretty good with that. Now of course, I'm going to get in here and do some notching. It's going to excel at that as well. One thing about these Moras, they're so easy to pick up and control. And guys, when you have a sharp knife that's easy to control, it just, you wear it down less. You're not going to need all that crazy grinds that are made to drive it through a piece of cinder block. You just don't need that. I mean, if you want to make a knife for that, you can make a knife for that. But I mean, there's no utility to that, and just, you know, the fact that you can just do it. A lot of people do it and don't ask just because they can doesn't necessarily mean that they should. So I kind of got a little too crazy with that right there. There we go. Nice, very nice. And the edge feels pretty uniform all up and down from heel to toe. Man, I love a Mora. Now I can tell you right now, I can feel the spine, and I seriously doubt it's going to throw a spark. Let's give it a try. All right, guys, so let's see what we got here with the spark. That's been shredded, so we'll go to the other side here. Yeah, I thought so. And just kind of give you guys a comparison. I'm going to switch knives real quick. And here's my EDC4. Yeah, I probably shouldn't do that, do a bunch of wet leaves, but I mean a bunch of dried leaves, but let's do a little bit. Whew, I went shot backwards. So much more successful with getting a spark. But that's just got to do with that edge right there. If we can sharpen that edge a little bit, and I tell you the truth, if we do this enough, we might get a sharp edge. But yeah, that's not going to happen with that guy. Now this nice rubberized grip is going to aid you if it's wet or anything like that. Not as nice as something like micarta, which I think micarta gets kind of sticky. But I can still keep a good handle on it. Now, of course, if we did want to chop down a larger tree, this would not be the ideal knife to use. But you could by bending and slicing this way. Now, this is a healthy tree, so I don't want to kill this tree. But something like this, I'm pretty sure you can definitely take some big chunks out. So let's find something that's not going to live or needs to be taken down, and we'll give this a test real quick. All right, guys, here's something that's dead. Let's actually probably just break this out by ourselves. Oh, well, that's not going to work. But it was dead. That's great firewood. There's a firewood tip and trick. This is all dead too. Man, look at that. That is some awesome firewood right there. It'd be hard to do a live wood test here. All right, guys, so here a lot of people say, you know, why would you ever need to drive the tip of your knife into something for a strength test? Well, not only would you be able, if you were, of course, bow hunting or something, need to dig your arrow out of a tree or something that you hit or something else, using the tip to kind of, you know, start off a bow drill divot. But there's other techniques that we use in some survival training to actually drive your knife into something. So let's say I'm injured, you know, but I need to use one, I had the use of one hand. Well, then I might be able to take this knife in here, hammer it into the tree like I'm doing, all with one hand, and then be able to come over here and have the tree act like a vise to pull through and do draw cuts. You guys can see. It's pretty effective. Now, one thing I would say for safety reasons, even if your hand is injured, still have it right there so you don't pull the knife out of the tree. There's also a great technique if you're just fatigued. All right, so let's go ahead and all right, we don't want to wound this too much, but I think we're pretty good with that. Anytime we're batoning something, this right here is probably the thickest that you want to baton with a knife like this. You don't need to be batoning big logs. You know, if you have a thicker knife, that's fine. Or if you have an axe, that's more preferable. But stuff like this, the woods are going to be littered with. You'll be able to find this stuff everywhere and anywhere. And that's what we're gonna use right here. Preferably, if you need to baton anything, something like this that'd be a little bit straighter, that you want to split before you throw it in the fire, you can definitely do this as well. Get those really pencil thin, long pieces of wood. There's a prime candidate right here. So we're gonna have a nice little anvil here. This may or may not work for us, because when you're batoning small pieces like this, you don't want to baton them into the ground, nor do you want your blade to hit the ground. So something like this would be preferable. And just get it lined up someplace that works. All right. So now I've seen people who are awesome enough to actually just sit here, put it in here, and actually baton with their hand a small piece of wood like this, so you guys can see. Now, of course, you need to be careful, but that'll get the job done. Now, you see how dry this is. You got to really watch your hands, because it doesn't take much. This is so rotted out. That's going to be great tinder. You can dry that out. You see that? Got to be careful. But let's get something a little bit more alive. All right. And this we're not going to use our hand. But that's all you need to do, fellas. Just a little bit like that. Anything bigger than this, you need to find a different tool. Still handled it. And that batoning gives us energy going in one direction. You know, you're not pulling back, it's going straight down through the material. So it's going to be all right. Edge feel just as sharp. Nice. So the last part, guys, let's talk about the sheath. It does have a area right here, so you can put on your overalls if you were in Sweden. But you know, simple plastic, inject molded, made in Sweden type sheath. The belt loop will fit into some molle webbing, although it's very difficult to get out there once you put it in there. So put that in there at your own risk. I've learned that the hard way. The retention for the sheath, and I'm going to do a little test here, guys. As you can see, it's not that tremendous. So you might want to, you know, go upscale a little bit on a better sheath, something with a more than just a friction retention. But for 20 bucks, it is a handsome package, and it's light enough weight that you can just throw it in your bag and kind of forget about it, and it'll be there for you. So guys, a great piece of equipment. I think the 1/8 inch Mora here is definitely going to be a winner. Mora Companion Heavy Duty. Like I said before, the only thing drawback is the sheath, and it's not really that bad. Everything else is awesome. Now, of course, this knife is not going to last you as long as some other, you know, high quality survival knives, but this is a bushcrafting tool, and for a $20 price point, you can find them for that much. They're almost disposable. Well, not that disposable, but you guys get my point. Great little item. Definitely's got a place in some of my kits. And I want to thank Sean from Edgeworks in Frederick, Maryland for giving me this one for a test and review. And we'll be certainly doing a giveaway here in the very near future. So hey guys, Adam from Equip the Door. If you have any questions or comments, please email me at adam@equipthedoor.com. You guys take care, be safe out there. Remember, if you're not always prepared, you're never prepared. Thanks.